It is exactly 1 p.m. here in the nation's economic capital, Douala. You're watching the bilingual edition of the news on Canal International. Bonjour, Junior Hussein.
Bonjour, Régina Lequet. Bienvenue au 13h sur Canal 2 International. Voici les titres de votre journal. Plus de 600 cas confirmés et 28 décès liés au choléra dans la région du littoral, selon les autorités sanitaires. Depuis le déclenchement de l'épidémie au mois de novembre, la situation est inquiétante dans la région. On en parle dans ce 13h.
Public Health Minister Dr. Manauda Malachi appeals for calm as the number of cholera cases soar. The health boss, accompanied by the Minister of Water and Energy Resources, was in Douala to assess the situation of the epidemic.
Lutte contre les importations du riz au Cameroun, le gouvernement opte pour une riziculture de nouvelle génération. De nombreux acteurs se sont mobilisés pour en parler. À suivre dans ce journal.
And the government of Cameroon has warned that Cameroonians must adopt new habits towards basic needs to overcome the rising prices imposed by crisis situations. In the press briefing on Wednesday in Yaoundé, the Minister of Trade, Luc Malgua Atangana Mbaga, said it is high time for Cameroonians to boost their production of local items.
Le Cameroun, le Sénégal, le Ghana, la Côte d'Ivoire et le Maroc sont les 5 pays qualifiés pour la Coupe du Monde Qatar 2022. Les 5 qualifiés en portrait dans un instant. Voilà pour les titres.
Welcome and once more, thank you for joining us in this edition of the news on Canal International. Now, Public Health Minister Dr. Manauda Malachi has appealed for calm as a number of cholera cases continue to soar in different regions of the country. Minister Manauda Malachi, accompanied by the Minister of Water and Energy Resources, was in Douala to make an evaluation of the epidemic. Here is the following report. It is in this ward that cholera patients have been isolated at the Lankantinin Hospital in Douala, flanked by his counterpart of Water and Energy Resource and the Littoral Governor. Public Health Minister Dr. Manauda Malachi gets a guarded tour as he makes an evaluation of the epidemic that has already claimed dozens of lives in the Littoral region.
The situation is under control up to now. We have a determined staff and our partners in the field who is very committed to end this spread of cholera. So I think up to now we are going to strengthen our personnel.
Limited access to water and poor quality of water has been identified as one of the major factors fueling the epidemic. The Minister of Water and Energy Resources, Gaston Elundu Esumba, noted that firm instructions have been given to water distribution companies for water to be treated prior to distribution.
The World Health Organization, together with other partners, I can mention UNICEF, CDC, we are engaged with the government in the response to this epidemic. Our advocacy is really for the development of a national plan for the elimination of cholera in Cameroon by the year 2030. In fact, this plan was adopted by the ministers of health of our continent in August 2018.
The director of Lankantinin Hospital presented the epidemiological situation of the epidemic, adding the need for sensitization of the population to heighten hygienic measures. Before his visit this Wednesday in Douala, Public Health Minister was on a similar mission to the Southwest region, where the disease has already killed more than 50. And in more health news, efforts are being made to eliminate social stigmatization and promote acceptance for persons living with bipolar disorder, now categorized under the same category as those suffering from mental health. Now, the persons living with bipolar disorder have often been stigmatized in the society. On the occasion of this year's celebration of World Bipolar Day, actors say the focus is for these persons to be more accepted by society. As we in the following report with you, Beatrice Ngamo.
Bipolar disorder is a mental situation that causes unusual shifts in moods, energy, and activities levels, extreme ups and downs, two kinds of mood swing, depression time.
That person can have a mood which is sad, can also think that he is not able to do anything in the life. He can be pessimist. Also with depression, that person can... we can see a person which is not able to walk properly, like usually. He is not able to go to work, to go to school. The tendency is to stay at home, to stay in the room.
Then time of happiness, less severe manic persons.
If you have maniac diseases, we have a person who is always in a state of happiness or who is irritable. Every day in that state, the person is very optimistic. He can tell you that he is able to build the Cameroon in one day. He talks a lot and he's agitated, go up and down. He start doing work at home without finish. He start washing dish and he let like that. He also have that tendency to give what he have, money, clothes, and remove clothes.
The lifetime disease, unfortunately, has no cure.
Bipolar disease is like diabetes. We stabilize people, but talking about cure, no, because they have to take their treatment all their life. And they can work, they can get married, they are not handicapped.
There is no known method of prevention of bipolar disorder because the exact cause is not yet determined. Knowing the symptoms, early diagnosis, and medications can help reduce episodes of mania.
Now, the Cameroon government has warned that it is high time for Cameroonians to adopt new habits towards basic needs in order to overcome rising prices imposed by different crises. Now, in a press briefing on Wednesday in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, the Minister of Trade noted that it is time for Cameroonians to boost the production of local goods in order to meet up with the demand.
Most items in the world markets have long skyrocketed by over 50% increase since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is a real shock
that Cameroonians still purchase some basic needs at the same prices for the moment. He reveals is thanks to the government efforts of subsidizing the imported products, but this, he laments, is at the detriment of the state's coffers.
The government and the economic operators concerned must be credited with having succeeded so far in preventing our market in such a global context from shortage and generous price explosion.
Talking to the men and women of the media in a press briefing this Wednesday in Yaoundé, the trade boss warns that consumers must adopt new habits to survive the reigning inflation.
The situation is difficult, and we even more so in the coming weeks and months. This requires us to together to review our way of doing things, to re-examine our food habits, and in short, to adapt to this new world that is emerging before our incredulous eyes.
Time for Cameroonians to consolidate solidarity.
of doing the same thing with a view of buying as a group and naturally at a lower price, and then to share the product among the members, at least during this crisis period. This could lead to a new form of solidarity in our society is necessary. I am thinking in particular of the idea of tontines for food, tontine for housing, tontine for many other topics.
And now we take you to this information. Belgian national Patrick Ekeles is now the new general manager of the Energy of Cameroon (ENEO). He was appointed on Wednesday, March 30th, 2022 at the board of directors meeting of the company. He replaces French-born Eric Mansour, whose mandate at the head of the company has come to an end 2.5 years after his appointment. ENEO's new general manager is an electromechanical engineer with an excellent career in the energy sector. Before his appointment on Wednesday, he had been acting for the past 2 months as a senior advisor to ENEO Cameroon. Patrick Ekeles has more than 30 years of experience in the sector. He has worked as senior advisor to asset management in Gulf region in Dubai. He was also managing director of Fahidit, a co-generation company in Saudi Arabia. He's expected to bring his rich experience to the electricity distribution company at a time when consumers are suffering from persistent blackout. And Junior Hussein, you have the next part of this news.
Et on parle de santé à présent, on s'intéresse au choléra, de nombreux cas de choléra détectés à la prison centrale de Douala. La maladie touche toutes les couches et dans tous les secteurs d'activité. Face à la menace, le ministre de la Santé publique et le ministre de l'Eau et de l'Énergie sont arrivés à Douala pour évaluer le problème. Le compte rendu avec Mireille Flore Desfoufosso.
Centre de prise en charge des malades de choléra de l'hôpital La Quintini de Douala, aménagé il y a quelques semaines, a déjà enregistré 5 décès sur les 47 cas enregistrés et la majorité venait de la prison de Newbel. 16 malades sont encore internés. Constat fait ce 29 mars par les ministres de la Santé et de l'Eau et de l'Énergie, arrivés dans le cadre d'une mission gouvernementale instruite par le Premier ministre.
Nous avons fait le tour. Et ce matin, nous pouvons dire qu'au niveau du littoral, la situation est quand même sous contrôle. Par rapport à la semaine dernière où on a rapporté plus de cas, on commence à stabiliser la situation.
La situation est sous contrôle après évaluation, mais pour y mettre un terme, tout passe par l'assainissement. Pour cela, les municipalités devraient être impliquées, a suggéré Manaouda Malachi, un avis que partage le ministre de l'Eau et de l'Énergie.
C'est fondamental d'insister sur les questions d'assainissement. Il y a certes les problèmes d'eau, mais il faut bien comprendre qu'au Cameroun, l'alimentation en eau, il y a 2 volets. Il y a un périmètre concédé à Kamwata. Ceux qui sont à l'intérieur de ce périmètre sont alimentés par le réseau Kamwata. Mais les populations qui ne sont pas à l'intérieur de ce périmètre sont alimentés par des forages et l'État a transféré cette compétence aux collectivités.
Le ministre de la Santé promet de débloquer la somme de 25 millions de francs CFA pour soutenir l'hôpital La Quintini dans l'achat des intrants devant servir à la prise en charge. L'OMS, partenaire du ministère de la Santé, va également aider pour l'éradication de cette maladie.
Nous, en tant que partenaires, nous sommes avec le gouvernement pour la riposte et donc nous sommes confiants. Cette épidémie, elle sera stoppée.
Précisons qu'avant Douala, dans le littoral, ces ministres étaient à Limbé, dans le sud-ouest.
Dans la suite du Trésor, le ministre de l'Agriculture et du Développement rural, Gabriel Barry-Robé, a effectué une visite de travail dans le Noun. Il était question de stimuler les agriculteurs à produire un riz de qualité et en quantité pour amoindrir les importations. Le récit de notre stagiaire Paul-Inès Otto et Johannoudine.
Encourager les riziculteurs du département du Noun afin de lutter contre la famine. C'est l'objectif de la visite effectuée par le ministre de l'Agriculture et du Développement rural à Koutaba. Il s'agit pour lui de maximiser la production locale dans le but de réduire l'importation du riz au Cameroun.
Nous vous rassurons que Koutaba est l'un des bassins de production qui nage déjà dans les 300 tonnes de production annuelle. Et tenez-vous tranquille, la production était manuelle. Mais nous sommes en train de chercher à mécaniser, c'est-à-dire la production va encore avoir un accroissement dans les prochaines années.
À cet effet, les riziculteurs du département du Noun sont subventionnés en semences, en équipements et en intrants agricoles.
Mais avec la construction des silos, parce que nous avons déjà lancé le marché des silos, il y a un silo de 1500 tonnes et un autre petit de 700 tonnes. Donc je crois avec ça, ça va réduire le problème de production.
Pendant cette visite de travail, le ministre a signifié le souhait du gouvernement camerounais de réhabiliter les pistes agricoles pour améliorer le mode de vie des paysans à travers le projet du développement rural du Mont Bapit.
Les populations de Coptam attendent de vous que non seulement vous valorisiez les infrastructures et les investissements qui ont été faits par le gouvernement, mais en plus vous créez la richesse pour que la coopérative cesse d'être une éternelle assistée, mais que la coopérative devienne effectivement un vecteur de développement qui crée de la richesse et améliore le cadre de vie.
Selon les riziculteurs de cette localité, le Cameroun sera bientôt doté d'un riz de meilleure qualité.
Et ce communiqué à présent, le conseil d'administration d'Eneo au Cameroun nomme un nouveau directeur général à la tête de l'entreprise. Réuni donc à Yaoundé le 30 mars dernier, le conseil d'administration a nommé M. Patrick Kellers comme nouveau directeur général d'Eneo Cameroun suite à la décision de M. Eric Mansou de ne pas renouveler son mandat. Arrivé chez Eneo en début d'année 2019 comme conseiller spécial, M. Eric Mansou est devenu directeur général adjoint puis directeur général en novembre 2019. Arrivé en janvier 2022 comme conseiller spécial du DG, M. Patrick Ekele est un ingénieur, expert en management des sociétés d'énergie qui a passé plus de 30 ans chez Engie, l'un des leaders mondiaux de la fourniture de l'électricité de 1999 à 2020. Il a dirigé des filiales d'Engie dans de nombreux pays. C'est donc un communiqué signé Eneo. Et dans la suite du journal, on s'intéresse cette fois-ci aux droits de l'homme, examen et adoption du règlement intérieur. Eh bien, 12 commissaires sur 15 ont pris part à Yaoundé à la session extraordinaire de l'Assemblée générale des droits de l'homme, des commissaires et de la Commission des droits de l'homme du Cameroun. Cette session extraordinaire a pour but d'examiner et d'adopter le règlement intérieur. Voici le compte rendu de Mariam Amanzou et Bertrand Tassé.
Ils sont nombreux à avoir répondu présent à cette première session extraordinaire de l'Assemblée générale des commissaires de la Commission des droits de l'homme du Cameroun. Objectif, examiner et adopter le règlement intérieur de la CDHC.
Nous y avons travaillé pendant de longs mois. Nous avions d'abord pensé pouvoir l'adopter lors de nos deux sessions, l'une des deux sessions que nous avons tenues en décembre 2021. Malheureusement, compte tenu de la densité de l'ordre du jour de ces deux sessions, nous avons jugé bon, conformément d'ailleurs à la pratique administrative d'autres institutions en la matière, de renvoyer l'examen de nos règlements intérieurs à une session extraordinaire.
Ce projet de règlement intérieur marque l'aboutissement d'un processus enclenché dès les premiers jours de création de la commission. Au cours de cette assise, il était également question de faire le point sur les différentes missions qu'a accompli la Commission des droits de l'homme.
La Commission a saisi l'occasion de la célébration de la 37e édition de la Journée internationale des femmes pour investir le champ de la promotion et de la protection des droits catégoriels des femmes dans cette région de notre pays. À l'extrême nord, en effet, les femmes et les filles sont souvent confrontées à plusieurs défis, notamment liés à leur faible scolarisation et aux violences domestiques dont elles sont souvent victimes, y compris les violences sexuelles et sexistes, au chapitre desquelles s'inscrivent les mariages précoces.
Le président de la Commission des droits de l'homme du Cameroun profite de cette rencontre pour annoncer l'élargissement du nombre de réseaux internationaux des institutions nationales de droits de l'homme dont la CDHC est membre.
Et nous poursuivons avec vous, Regina.
Human Rights Commission has adopted its bylaws, internal rules after almost 1 year of functioning. Now, this was during the first ever extraordinary General Assembly that was chaired by the Commission's President, Mr. Mwangi James. As we end the following report with you, Beatrice Ngamo.
1 year after the creation of the Cameroon National Human Rights Commission to replace the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedom, that is, last February 21st, and the oath taken April 21st by its appointed members, the commissioners could not agree on a suitable bylaw for the national human rights defenders. The first Ordinary General Assembly Wednesday was for a suitable internal rules.
Is to adopt our internal regulations. We intended to adopt them on December during our two first Ordinary General Assemblies. Unfortunately, it was not possible because the agenda was so tough.
The General Assembly also occasioned to explain their different missions during this period and issues on human rights situations in the country as a whole. They started happening last August and December in the far north region.
There were fightings amongst Cameroonians communities with a lot of casualties. So we were there to bring our contribution to rebuilding the peace in that part of the country. We have also decided, bearing in mind the specific challenges of that part of the country, to create our first divisional branch there.
Cameroon National Human Rights Commission has widened international tentacles with new adhesions. With the clarity of the newly adopted text, the Cameroon National Commission on Human Rights intends to advance with more transparency, objectivity, and effectiveness as mandated.
Now, the need to effectively manage migration and make it an integral part of national development has been highlighted in Parliament as part of preparations ahead of the first International Migration Forum in May. Some members of Parliament have held consultative talks with some actors in the sector. Once more, Beatrice Ngamo.
Migration and refugees matters, issues of national and international concerns today, and so need for a comprehensive approach to human mobility and enhanced cooperation. The birth of the New York Declaration, the process of intergovernmental consultations and negotiations towards the development of our global compact for safe, orderly, and regular migration.
Migration offers immense opportunities, benefits, but when poorly regulated, a lot of challenges occur.
Consultation between parliamentarians, members of the Constitutional Laws Committee, and non-state parties this Wednesday aims to address today's migration challenges.
We also commit to contributing to the International Migration Review Forum, to which the Global Compact refers, with a view to discussion and sharing progress on the implementation of all aspects of the Global Compact in our efforts to fulfill the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals.
Efforts in line with the recommended participatory approach involving all strata of the society for Cameroon's National Migration Governance Report with human rights obligation.
We are hoping that in the breakout sessions, we are going to come out with workable proposals that will beef up the document which our government will be taking to New York in May.
According to the IOM, in Cameroon, since 2007, they have helped over 5,100 voluntary returnees. Others entails economic, psychological, social supports. This goes also to the internally displaced in some regions of the country. Consultations ahead of Cameroon's participation to the first International Migration Review Forum next May the 17th to 20th in New York.
Small and medium-sized enterprises have often been described as a motor engine for economic growth. Now, to help these small and medium-sized enterprises to be able to surmount their challenges on a daily basis, this group of enterprises have been schooled on the role of taxation procedures, policies, and the role played by the Chamber of Commerce for their growth. More in the following report with you, Morinzi.
In most of the world's economies, small and medium-sized enterprises are regarded as vectors for job and wealth creation. In Cameroon, despite daily challenges, small and medium-sized enterprises have continued to strategize on a means of survival. Continuous sensitization on their conformity with taxation procedure and others is the focus of this capacity-building workshop that brings together SMEs.
The workshop is to bring small and medium-sized enterprises abreast with what certified management centers at the Chamber of Commerce offer in terms of economic advantages. And for you to have a clue of it, these certified management centers offer tax rebates to adherents. When you register with these certified management centers, you have the advantage to be handheld by the Chamber of Commerce, and the government has made provisions in such a way that when you're a member, you have tax rebates.
The Chamber of Commerce, Mines and Craft plays an important role in the development of SMEs in Cameroon.
The objective here is to help these small and medium-sized enterprises emerge from the informal sector to the formal sector, because this is a possibility to see how these institutions that contribute at least 80% to Cameroon's economy can get to a higher level. So the management centers were set up to give this advantage to small and medium-sized enterprises. But unfortunately, there are many of them out there who have not known the importance of these centers.
Alors, la plus-value sur la représentation des PME.
Christian Doc Mbome is heading one of the authorized management centers. He decries the non-conformity of some SMEs and lack of training on issues affecting their growth. The workshop is organized by the Cameroon Chamber of Commerce, Mines and Crafts in partnership with the Interprofessional Association of Enterprises in Cameroon. It should be noted, Cameroon's economy is largely based on SMEs, making up 99.7% of businesses.
And on our sports page, 5 African countries have booked their ticket for this year's World Cup to take place in Qatar later this year. They are representing the Confederation of African Football. In the following report, Sherifa Saleh paints a profile of the 5 African teams. Her report.
5 African countries have qualified for the 2022 Qatar World Cup. The list was completed after the fiasco between the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Foxes of Algeria. Cameroon, Morocco, Tunisia, Ghana and Senegal will represent CAF, the African Confederation of Football, in Qatar. The 5 qualifiers booked their places at Qatar 2022 by